When Christians or Bible believers shoot themselves in the foot with their argument. Your statement, sir, just proves that the Bible was written, whether it's Old Testament or New Testament, during a time frame when slavery was common. And since it was common, it was not outlawed by your God, but rather regulated by your God and instructions given by your God, which shows that this book was written by men for men based on the time frame that these men lived. If your Bible was written today, your God would probably outlaw slavery completely. But he didn't. And you clearly make that statement that since slavery was already common and already around, instead of your God outlawing it, he gave regulations for it. Now, you are correct. Slavery was in the human psyche, in the human world, long before the Mosaic laws ever came about, long before Christianity came about. And so it was not created by your book, by your God. But since your God was supposed to be the one true God, then your one true God should have been able to say, hey, you know what? This whole man owning another man thing, it's not good. We're not going to do that. That's not a good thing. Everybody has their own agency. Everybody should be able to live their lives freely. But instead he said, well, if it's somebody who's one of your own tribe, then after 7 years, if he's a male, you got to let him go free. And make sure you give him some stuff when he does. At first he says the women should go free as well, but then he changes it later and said the women don't go free. Then he added in, if you were to marry one of the women, then the woman becomes your wife and you become displeased with her, you got to let her go free. But if not, she remains your slave wife. Then he changes it up and say, even for the ones who are of your tribe, if you give him a wife while he's your servant, while he's your slave, then if he wants to stay with his wife because they don't go free after 7 years, then he has to become a slave for life. But of the foreigners, the ones who are not in your tribe, a little bit different. They can be slaves for the rest of their lives. They are slaves for the rest of their life. They are passed down as property. And if you beat one of them, as long as they don't die within a couple of days, the master is not punished. Now, for some who are in your tribe, you don't beat them at all. And you would think that this God would say no slavery, since he constantly reminds the Israelites that he brought them out of slavery in Egypt, and that because he brought them out, no one should own anybody because he understands how horrible slavery is. But instead, he just gives regulations for slavery. He gives rules for slavery. And you would think this guy would be a very moral God and also do things like say, hey, women are created equal and should be able to marry who they want to marry and have their own independent agency over that. But instead, no, they become slave wives. They are forced into marriages by their fathers. They don't get a say-so. You think your God would be more balanced, would be fair, but he's not. I mean, he could tell you, and I know some of the argument is that, well, God didn't want to disrupt their lives because God knew that they wouldn't be able to change like that. But yet he came in and said, hey, I got 10 new commandments. And then he broke those and said, I got 10 more new commandments. And you don't boil a baby cow in his mother's milk. He can tell you that one. He can tell you that these are the animals that you should eat. These are the animals that you shouldn't eat. Trust me, changing someone's diet is a very difficult thing to do. But he had no problem changing their diet. He told them what linens they could wear and don't mix the linen. But he can tell you how to change your wardrobe and do your wardrobe, but yet he can't tell you not to own slaves. He can tell you who to genocide and who not to genocide, and then partial genocides, kill all the people who are in Jericho and burn everything down to the ground. But for these people over here, just kill all the men, the women, the young boys, and the women who've known a man. But then for the young ones who haven't known a man, make them your wives. He can make these distinctions and these changes, but yet he can't tell man that no man should own another man. Your God is a man, basically, point blank, Simply put, your God is a man who sat there and wrote this stuff down based on their society of that day. But you have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.